everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to episode 2. This is the Q&A series here at the Shed Organics. Now, you may notice that it's a little different in here. I've decided to come in and work in the studio. I've set up a studio at home that I use for various other things. I thought, why not start filming in here? Because hopefully in the future I might be doing some podcast episodes, things like that, where this is a really easy setup for me to do. It's very simple just to talk to camera, and I can just make the content a lot faster. So hopefully this format is good. Let me know if the quality is all right and you're happy with it. Otherwise, I'm quite happy to go back outside, set up some cameras and microphones and things like this. I may be on location sometimes, so you never know what's going to happen. But for now, I thought we'd try this one out. So today, I'm going through another 5 questions submitted from awesome customers and people following the pages around the community. I thought I'd reach out again, so thank you for those who've seen the posts and are responding and sending questions. It really helps because it's opening up some of these questions to the rest of the community so we can then help out some more people and hopefully eradicate any questions that anyone's got for these types of questions. So first and foremost, let's jump straight in. The first question is, apart from radish, what is a good and quick seed to plant in between rows to maximize planting space while you're waiting for your main crop? Now, the first things that come to mind for this one are simple things like rocket or lettuce, anything like spinach, something like this that's going to be quick leafy greens. Often if it's between rows, it might be shaded out quite a bit, so you're going to get a lot more sort of shade-loving crops that are going to grow in that area, especially if they're shaded out. You can put a lot of herbs in there. I often like to see herbs and flowers spaced out in between things like the lettuce and the rocket and stuff like that, so you can have a nice balance of different things that are going to help add to your garden in between these rows. So something simple, coriander, some herbs, something that's going to pop up nice and fast and do well, and then you can harvest it whilst you're waiting. So hopefully that's what first comes to mind. Let us know, anyone else, if you've got anything to add to that one. That's a really good one. Second question, let's have a look. Ordering flower seeds from overseas. So this person's talking about if they've got rare flower seeds in Australia, they're very expensive, but they're very cheap from China. Has anyone ordered flower seeds from any other country without a quarantine report? Will customs confiscate my seeds? Now, I'm going to go straight in and say that because we're in Australia, they have an insanely tight customs border protection for these types of things for quarantine. If you've ever traveled into Australia, which I've done recently, came back from overseas getting married, which was wonderful. I had to come through customs, and you see the video that they put out with quarantine and how strict they are with all sorts of different foods and plant material and things that come in from overseas. So my first gut reaction is that yes, they will confiscate them if there's not a quarantine report or any kind of certification on the seeds. Now, if you're traveling with them and you declare them and you can say and prove maybe where you got them from, maybe that's something different. But in terms of actually buying them in, if they're cheap enough to try and buy some in and see if they actually get through, then great. If not, then I would probably say try not to order a bulk amount because you're at risk of losing that. So speaking of, if you do know where to get some rare flower seeds here in Australia, link us down below in the comments. These are always helpful for everyone else to try and find some rare seeds. Anyway, next question. Hopefully that answered your question. Question 3. What causes tomato flowers to dry and fall off? Now, there's a few reasons that I can think of. Especially here in Australia, in Queensland, if you're trying to grow tomatoes through warmer months, generally if there's some heat stress, temperatures going over sort of 30 degrees into the 30s, it can just be literally just too intense of a heat so that the flowering and the fruiting just can't handle it. The nitrogen, there can be too much nitrogen. Often that's sending signals to the plant that it's just going to really bush out at all of this leafy green material rather than sending like a lot of the other nutrients like your phosphorus and things like this that can help with flowers and fruiting, and your potassium, things like that. So often if there's too much nitrogen in the soil, you might be getting that. It's hard to always work out, but generally you can see lots of bushy green growth, nice and healthy, but then your flowers and your fruits aren't doing so well. Maybe you have a little imbalance there. Another thing possibly is lack of pollination. So maybe no pollinators around, so the flowers don't get pollinated, so therefore we have no fruits. That one's quite a simple one. And then the other thing I can think of is maybe watering, but that's pretty obvious. You can start to see that in the plant itself as a whole, rather than just the flowers and fruits. So yeah, watering's another big one for tomatoes. Hopefully that answers your question. Question 4. Tips for growing zucchini in southeast Queensland. I'm just about to embark on this myself, and I was telling this customer, this in particular, through messages, that I'm about to start this myself. So I'm going to film some videos of a few seeds that I'm going to be planting in August, which is quite late for August planting at the moment because I've been away, as I said. So I'm going to try and catch up with that, planting a few things. I've got zucchini, pumpkin. I'm going to do some capsicum, more chili, things like this, along with the chili side-by-side that we're doing. So, yeah, keep an eye out for that if you're wanting to grow along with me and things like this. Try and have a look at some different versions of growing. Otherwise, zucchini, in this climate, it doesn't like humidity, okay? Very susceptible to powdery mildew, and basically, we just need to make sure it's got lots of airflow and good spacing. So you're generally just wanting to use one plant. If you can get a sort of nice, area around that plant that creates good airflow. Also, sometimes removing some of the in-between leaves so that you can allow that air to go through and into past the fruits and the flowers and all that sort of thing in the middle. That can often help. So I try and plant them up in the raised beds, so they're up off the ground. They're not sitting in too much moisture or too much, dead air, and we want them up in the air, free airflow around, and then able to, have some sunlight and dry out and properly drain through in the raised bed system. So that's how I try and do it. Use lots of mulch so that we keep the moisture nice and even underneath and it's dry on top. So if you've got some of the fruits that they're sitting on some dry mulch, there's nothing worse than if it's sitting on wet soil. It's just going to rot away. I've seen some really cool things where people have used like some mesh over the top of their beds and allowed the zucchinis to grow up through, and then they sort of sit up on this like Rio mesh or this galvanized wire, and it sort of sits up off the soil and therefore is nice and airflow. Same with pumpkins, same with and squashes and things like this. So that is a really good way of just keeping it up and away from that sort of thing. The other thing is there are some varieties that are more mold resistant, so we can go for those types of things. But generally, if you follow these tips and try and really keep an eye on stuff, you can get a few good zucchini harvests, especially in some of the more humid months here in southeast Queensland. All right. Last one. Let's go jump in. Last one. Maximizing growth in small balconies. I have a really small space on my balcony in Queensland, and I've got limited sunlight each day. What's the best methods I can do to maximize what I can grow here? Right. Going straight back to question 1, in between the rows, some more shady varieties like your lettuces, your herbs, mint, things like this. They can do with more shade. They can survive in that kind of thing. So those things straight away come to mind. Often you can add like supplemental lighting. So by getting an LED light or like some sort of grow light or something that can stay on longer on your balcony to provide extra sunlight. So often people might have it just come on when the sun goes down and it stays on for another 4 or 5 hours of just nice sort of full spectrum lighting. We could go into more sorts of things like that. And like even growing indoors and like vertical growing systems. Like there's loads of ways that you can do it without natural sunlight. I'm thinking of actually trying to set up a sort of indoor based growing system that's going to demonstrate how to do some lettuce or something really, really simple indoors, so that if you are living in an apartment or something like this, you can actually grow something and you can create a garden environment in a room or in some sort of contained space, and then you can have all of the benefits of growing your own food, even though you're in an area with no literal ground around you or soil. So something to think about, something to look forward to, and hopefully, that sort of answers your question. We'll go into a little bit further down the track. So let's wrap it up. That was Q&A episode 2. Stay tuned for the chili video. That's coming out very soon, if not already out. So go and check that out. Then I'm going to do the update on what I'm planting this August. Once everything's gone in and I've done a bit of that, then you'll be able to see some of those videos. So for question and answer video Q&A number 3, if you've got any questions, whack them down in the comments below, and I will answer them next video, collect them all up for you, and share some knowledge. So thank you very much for listening and watching. If you enjoyed, please follow, like, subscribe, share it around. It really, really helps us and the community. So thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.